All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I call to order this December 10, 2025 hybrid administrative meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. All commissioners are present this evening. Vice Chair Barboa is not. She's running a few minutes late, but we're expecting her to come in shortly. So we'll go ahead and move on through our agenda. Our first item, we'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Benson.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Just a quick recognition. I did want to recognize we have a former elected official in the House, former county commissioner, former city councilor, and former state senator, Mr. Michael Weiner. So welcome. Thanks for being here this evening. So with that, we'll move into setting our agenda for the evening. Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Thank you, Chair. We would like to request suspension of the rules for 10C, and this is Information Technology Enterprise Resource Planning, our planning system, be moved to adoption of resolution as item 9A. And staff requests suspension of the rules for the final adoption and introduction so the funding can be appropriated and procurement is in place by the end of the calendar year as it advantages us to do so financially. 11B, Behavioral Health Authority Division, COA Intergovernmental Agreement, Forensic Assertive Community Treatment, FACT, be moved to the consent agenda as item 6N.
Okay. And I do have a change that I wanted to request. Let me just find this real quick. So it's item 11C. I would request that we move that item to the consent agenda during our leadership meeting. I had asked that it be moved down to full consideration, but after some consultation with the county manager, I think it's appropriate that we have a more robust update on our vehicle auto collisions and sort of risk related to those reported out. We had some discussions within the first quarter of next year so that we can get a better look at that outside of this specific item, which is just the approval of the contract. So I would move that also be added to consent. So we have 2 requests for items moving to consent and 1 for immediate action. I'd make a motion to adopt those changes to the agenda.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Barbara Baca. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, signal in the affirmative.
Aye.
Yes. Aye. Seeing none opposed, the agenda is adopted by a 4-0 vote. And so we'll move on to proclamations. Our first proclamation, our only proclamation tonight is acknowledgement of the Roadrunner Food Bank led by Commissioner Walt Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I believe we have Katie Anderson, Joe Fye, and Jason Riggs right on. With Roadrunner Food Bank. If you guys wouldn't mind walking up to the podium. And we have an acknowledgement for all the great work you all do. It's very appropriate in the month of December. Acknowledgement. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Roadrunner Food Bank, acknowledging that it is the largest food bank in New Mexico and a member of the Feeding America National Network of 200 food banks. Roadrunner Food Bank plays a major role in distributing a variety of food to people struggling to meet their nutritional needs. This commitment to hunger relief has been at the core of its work since its founding in 1979, and acknowledging that the annual MAP, the Meal Gap Report, shows 1 in 7 New Mexicans, that's 321,370 adults, and 1 in 5, which is 100,000 children, are at risk of hunger. And acknowledging last year, Roadrunner Food Bank provided 47 million pounds of food, which translated to over 39 million meals for 70,000 hungry New Mexicans each week, with a 43% distribution in fruits and vegetables. And acknowledging that working with food industry partners has made its work a reality by donating millions of pounds of food from across the country and New Mexico, and that over the last 10 years, rescued food products brought to its warehouses accounted for 170 million pounds of food, which was turned into 141 million meals. It's a lot of food. Acknowledging, and a lot of mouths to feed. Acknowledging that every $1 gift allows Roadrunner Food Bank to distribute 5 meals. And thanks to financial contributions made by private individuals, corporations, and foundations, it can source, acquire, and distribute millions of pounds of food annually. And acknowledging Roadrunner Food Bank relies on dedicated volunteers to assist at the warehouse, help center, food assistance hotline, food distribution, and mobile pop-up sites. And acknowledging that Roadrunner Food Bank's statewide hunger relief network provides food through hundreds of partner agencies across New Mexico, including food pantries, soup kitchens, schools, senior centers, healthcare organizations, and tribal communities, reaching children, seniors, the disabled, families, adults, and the unhoused in 24 counties. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance and impact of Roadrunner Food Bank and their comprehensive system to feed those in need in our community, and we extend our deepest thanks for their life-saving and unwavering mission, done this 10th day of December 2025 in Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico, signed by the Board of County Commissioners. And I'd love a few comments, if you would, but I just want to acknowledge a few points, and thank you guys for being here. I want to recognize your CEO, Dana Yost, for their leadership for the Roadrunner Food Bank, and just wanted to point out a few of their contributions to our community. Just the millions of pounds of food that you all process. I mean, the operations of that, just to convert the donations into meals for people and then get those people fed is so much work. Thank you so much. Want to also thank all of the people that volunteer. I know a lot of our own employees here at the county volunteer, and for the month of December, but even in January and February, they need help year round. So if you have it in your heart and the time, carve out the time and donate some time to help them distribute that food. Also, and this is just seeing the work you all do. I understand that December is your match campaign. And thanks to the Abram and Ray Kaplan Foundation, Smith's Food and Drug, and an anonymous donor, donations in December are matched dollar for dollar up to $100,000. And so if you have a couple extra bucks, give it to Roadrunner Food Bank because it'll be doubled. And my office, District 4, we're going to contribute $10,000 to you guys tonight for December, which means that'll be $20,000. And so we can take a picture with you guys in just a minute with your acknowledgement. And I've got a check for you guys, but yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Jason Riggs. I'm the Director of Advocacy at Roadrunner Food Bank, and our President and CEO, Dana, couldn't be here. He's doing the work of the board right now to keep the place running, keep the lights on, so he apologizes he can't be here tonight, but it definitely takes a strong community behind any food bank to do what we do. And as a Bernalillo County born and bred resident, this is it's really something. And we really appreciate the support. And there are definitely a lot of people in our community that they need some help. And so exactly like the councilman said, if we can, please feel free to come by Roadrunner if you ever just want to check it out. We can answer a lot of questions. We have a lot of information on our website, and we thank the county of Bernalillo.
Thank you. Here's your check, and here's your acknowledgement. And if you guys want to stand over here, we'll do a photo.
Thank you for that acknowledgement, Commissioner Benson. Really, really appreciate that. Next up, we have the Public Works Division, and we have the recognition of Mr. Larry Herrera. And we have Deputy County Manager Elias Archuleta and his team to present.
Good evening. My name is Antonio Jarmin. I'm the Director of Operations and Maintenance. Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, and Madam County Manager, we are here today to celebrate one of the employees that are within Operations and Maintenance. It is a rare occasion that, even more so nowadays, that we recognize an individual who has had such a long career within this organization. Today, Mr. Larry Herrera has been with Bernalillo County for 35 years. I would like to read this acknowledgement. The County of Bernalillo Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge Larry Herrera for his 35 years of service to Bernalillo County. Acknowledging that Mr. Larry Herrera has dedicated 35 years to Bernalillo County, beginning his career with 15 years in the Finance Division, followed by 20 years of public service for Public Works under Operations and Maintenance. And acknowledging Larry Herrera worked on the SAP Blueprint stage and played a vital role in supporting all sections of Operations and Maintenance, including road, traffic, storm drain, and solid waste. And acknowledging that Larry Herrera had vast institutional knowledge and extensive experience, which has been invaluable to Bernalillo County. And acknowledging Larry Herrera's dedication, work ethic, passion, and commitment, all of which have contributed significantly to the success of the county's operations. Now therefore be it resolved that Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners hereby extends its deepest gratitude to Larry Herrera for all his work, dedication, and long-standing service to the county. The board wishes to his success and happiness in his well-earned retirement and future endeavors. Done this 10th day of December 2025 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico, presented and signed by all the commissioners. Larry, do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Antonio. County Commissioners, it has been my pleasure to work with Bernalillo County for all of these years. The county has provided me and my family with a good life, a good salary, a decent wage, a decent everything is decent about it. So it's kind of hard to find the words to say right away, but yeah, I'm just very, very grateful, and thank you so much for putting up with me for 35 years.
I want to go take a picture with us.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera.
You got to do it. You did 35 years?
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Yay, with the team.
They're all a good team.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera, and wishing you nothing but the best. And thank you so much for your service to our community and to our county, and all that's given to the people we represent. All right, I'm going to read a couple of statements into the record in regards to the closed meeting that we had earlier today. I offer the following statement regarding the closed meeting held Wednesday, December 10, 2025 at 3 p.m. Only those items described on the published notice and agenda for the closed meeting held on December 10, 2025 were discussed at the closed meeting. I need a motion for approval of this statement, and it'll become part of the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
I'll second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signal in the affirmative. Yes? Any opposed?
Abstain. Just abstain.
Okay. So we have 4-0 on the motion for the statement. And statement number 2, I move that the county manager and the county attorney be authorized to proceed with the matters discussed in the closed meeting held on Wednesday, December 10th, 2025, within the parameters set by this commission in the closed meeting agenda.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Barbara Baca. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes. Any
Yes.
opposed? And another abstention from the vice chair. That passes on a 4-0 vote. All right, so moving along in our agenda, we'll move on to item number 5, which is public comment and communications. We'll start with public comment. Each person has 2 minutes. You will be alerted to your remaining time by the lights on the podium. When the light is red, that means your time has expired, and you'll also hear a beep. When your name is called, please make your way to the podium if you're speaking in person. Before making your statements, please state your name for the record. In order to maintain order and decorum and in the spirit of professionalism and respect for everyone present, speakers must adhere to the 2-minute time limit. If the conduct of the presenter violates the rules, they may be subject to removal. Javier, if you could please call the names.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, we have a total of 3 speakers, all in person. Please line up at the podium when your name is called, and when it is your turn to speak, please state your name for the record. We will start with Shannon Cordova, followed by Dr. Geraldo Cianello, followed by Roger Valdez.
Hi, I'm Shannon Cordova. This is my husband, David Cordova. We come to you as whistleblowers for the county. On January 7th, 2021, a significant incident took place in F Unit at Bernalillo County Juvenile Justice Detention Center. Video footage reveals that an officer stepped aside, allowing an inmate to violently kick Mr. Cordova in the head, leaving him unconscious. The video also shows nurses engaged in conversation rather than attending to any medical emergencies. Following this, Mr. Cordova was taken to the emergency room but was left there alone. According to policy, Mr. Cordova should have been accompanied by a supervisor or manager, and that never happened, which was a serious oversight. Additionally, no attempts were made to notify Mr. Cordova's wife about the incident. We hired Ms. Pizzonia Law, who unfortunately collaborated closely with the opposing counsel, Lynn Phyllis, that works for the county, affiliated with New Mexico counties and Bernalillo County. They altered his diagnosis and downplayed his symptoms. When this manipulation was discovered, Lydia Pizzonia resigned from her position and subsequently filed charges against David Cordova for reaching out regarding 2 pieces of video of evidence that she had redacted. Throughout this ordeal, David Cordova has acted as a whistleblower, even bringing the matter to the district attorney's office, which resulted in the Bernalillo County Juvenile Justice Center terminating his employment the same day. When Mr. Cordova sought assistance from Human Resources Representative Denise Sandoval, she responded with an email stating her refusal to help. This constitutes a violation of Mr. Cordova's First Amendments. Lydia Pizzonia has engaged in unethical practices by withholding evidence. As a result, Mr. Cordova continues to suffer without the necessary medical care a year later. Moreover, Ms. Ortega in risk management is withholding 2 pieces of video of evidence.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd ask you to please conclude your comments, okay?
One of which was shared with a police officer during an investigation, but was obstructed by not releasing both angles, compromising the inquiry. Attempted manslaughter charges should have been filed that night, given the potential fatality from the blunt force trauma Mr. Cordova sustained. Currently, we are pursuing a lawsuit of exceeding $30 million against the county.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, you're going to have to conclude your comments. We do hold all our presenters to a 2-minute time limit, and that's going to well exceed your time limit. We've given you an extra 30 seconds, so thank you very much.
Who can we get paperwork to, so we know that you guys...
Our staff over here in the corner can follow up with you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Geraldo Cianello, followed by Roger Valdez.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Bernalillo County Commission.
I'm an alternative health doctor, minister, and taxpayer who waited 9 years legally to become a naturalized U.S. citizen and desires election integrity and transparency. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon on Friday provided an update on the federal government's review of state voter registration data in less than 30 states, and she revealed that hundreds of thousands of dead and illegal alien voters are registered to vote. Only looking at 47.5 million records from nearly 30 states, Dillon says that DOJ found 260,000 plus dead people and enrolled in the state's voter rolls and several thousand non-citizens who are enrolled to vote in federal elections. Roughly 174 million people voted in the 2024 elections. Currently, 15 lawsuits are pending against 14 states, with 2 in California alone for refusing to provide records to the federal government. As the Gateway Pundit reported, Dillon announced on Tuesday that the DOJ has sued Delaware, Maryland, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington for refusing to hand over their statewide voter registration list as required under federal law 52 U.S.C. 20507 alongside federal immigration databases and state records requested. She requested a law and two subpoena were necessary and authorized by law for consistency with federal requirements. I've worked as a poll challenger and watcher for 5 years. Can you honestly say we have a true election integrity and transparency? That said, I want to wish you all and your family a healthy, blessed Christmas, and that's an acronym as well, and an acronym for Christ has revealed instructions so that many are saved, or Christ mas in Spanish, more Christ love to you all this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cianella.
Roger Valdez.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just Roger Valdez here on behalf of Street Vision and Center for Housing Economics to express our thanks and gratitude for your continued collaboration on the donation of 133 Virginia, former medical and dental building that the county owns, but is looking at now transitioning over to ownership to Street Vision to create some transitional housing. That relationship has grown over the last year, and I especially want to thank Commissioner Barboa, who has been with us from the very, very beginning, and also Manager Cindy Chavez, who I feel has really had a tremendous positive influence on opening up a pathway for that to happen. And we've appreciated continuing to collaborate with you on other ideas and issues around housing. Marcos Gonzalez, Ben McIntosh, and Carolyn Tobias have done a lot of the staff work to help us get where we are. When you vote today on item K on the consent agenda, we'll be moving one step further. And we're hoping to be able to complete feasibility on the building, study that, and start to get into design early next year and begin to look at delivering something in the latter half of 26. I also wanted to let you know that we're working on legislation on a couple of tax items, in particular a GRT deduction for affordable housing that we've shared with staff already. And it's something we want to continue to engage with you because we know that GRT is a vital source of revenue for the county, but we also know how important housing and affordable housing is to you as well. So we look forward to engaging with you on that as we head into the next legislative session. So thank you for all your work and collaboration with us, and we look forward to another year of working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This concludes our public comment.
All right, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am remiss for forgetting to mention the my office has boxes in the first floor here for a food drive for Rio Grande, for Roadrunner Food Bank. So for the rest of the month, if you have extra canned goods, if you could drop them off, and we'll be delivering them to Rio Grande. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, next up, we've got a communications item from the Behavioral Health Authority Division, the 2025 Behavioral Health Authority Division Annual Report. Very excited for this, and we have Dr. Wayne Lindstrom to present along with some of his senior staff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The behavioral health ordinance requires that we produce for you and present an annual report, and this is for FY '25. And I'll be here supporting my staff, who will be actually doing the presentation. First is Jessica Benali, who's our quality control manager, Fran Martinez Romero, who's our fiscal manager, and John Longto, who's our performance and data manager. And with that,
Good evening, Chair Olivas, Vice Chair Barboa, and members of the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present this presentation. Our BHA strategic plan focuses on three primary outcomes: improving health for individuals and families, enhancing outcomes for people interacting with healthcare and criminal justice systems, and ensuring strong returns on public investment through efficient and equitable services. This year, we strengthened our internal structure by reorganizing the BHA division into two coordinated departments. The Department of Operational Supports now manages contracting, compliance, financial oversight, and data analytics, while the Department of Integrated Services oversees the coordination and delivery of care across the continuum, which includes crisis services, detox, supportive housing, reentry, and peer-based programs. We have also expanded government's and community voice through the establishment of the Behavioral Health Advisory Board and the Behavioral Health Education and Awareness Council to strengthen strategic oversight, promote mental health literacy, and reduce stigma. System integration advanced significantly through key partnerships with the City of Albuquerque, UNM Hospital, Albuquerque Public Schools, and the State Behavioral Health Collaborative. We've also laid the groundwork for the Behavioral Health Public Accountability Dashboard, projected to launch in 2026.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the Commission. In FY '25, there were almost $54 million in expenditures under the Behavioral Health Authority Division. Excuse me. The expenditures are represented by the Behavioral Health Gross Receipts Tax, both recurring and one-time, grants, and opioid settlement funds. Of the FY '25 allocations, there was $5.6 million in reversions or funds that were unspent. The reversions are primarily from the Behavioral Health Gross Receipts Tax and grants, both attributed to a limited workforce or vacancy savings and program capacity. In your packet, you will find additional contract award and reversion details. Thank you.
During FY '25, we experienced a 22% staff vacancy rate, with most vacancies concentrated in the direct care services. On the provider performance side, we have a high-performing provider network with 90% compliance and clear corrective pathways. This reflects the robust work of the county staff taking on continuous quality improvement initiatives. Compliance is evaluated across 5 key domains, including service metrics, outcome measures, administrative compliance, financial accountability, and regulatory adherence. To strengthen consistency and transparency, we've implemented universal data sharing agreements, results-based accountability templates, and Lean Six Sigma mapping to streamline compliance and monitoring response invoice review, which ensures more consistent tracking of services and outcomes.
Chair Olivas, Vice Chair Barbaro, and members of the Commission, the Behavioral Health Authorities served in fiscal year 2025 a total of 53,209 individuals across the four strategic areas you see on the slide. This reflects the broad scope and accessibility of services across our community. We have more details about each of these areas in our written annual report. One of these areas for us to highlight tonight is a total of 1,045 individuals who are successfully placed in permanent housing through Behavioral Health Authority programs. This achievement reflects a strong commitment to long-term stability and recovery for our clients, addressing both behavioral health needs and housing insecurity. In addition to these quantitative measures, we collect qualitative feedback from our programs via monthly performance reports and direct feedback from clients through regular program evaluations. This feedback confirms that BHA is seeing a notable increase in demand for crisis services, youth prevention, substance use treatment, supportive housing, and case management services. These trends highlight the need for continued investment in prevention, early intervention, and wraparound supports to meet our community's growing needs. We stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? I know that Vice Chair Barboa, go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Chair. Thank you to all of you for this report. I feel like I want to cry again. This has been my year of crying and joy for the behavioral health work. I just feel really, just getting to see and understand this information so that we can talk about it clearly and understand what's going on. And when people ask us, so we can be ambassadors of what's going on. And also that now this, some of this information to be able to say, okay, 1,045 workplaces, that sounds so exciting to me. And next year, I don't know what we did last year, if we did it all last year. So was it better than that? But next year we'll be able to say, yeah, we did better or we did worse because of this. But just being able to always look and see and evaluate, I'm very grateful for that. So thank you all for both collecting these numbers and for providing all these services to all our programs out there doing it. That 53,209, I think I heard clearly that those are individuals. So it's not like the one person came 7 times for different services or whatever.
Those are all, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Barbeau, those are all unique individuals.
Unique, and that's the word I was looking for. Thank you, and also just for identifying the demands, what's coming up, so we can hear what you all are seeing, what folks are seeing on the ground is what's coming up as the biggest needs. All of this is just very helpful, and again, I feel just that monthly reports and ability for clients to give feedback. I'm just really grateful for all of that, so just wanted to give a big thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Frank Baca, go ahead.
Thank you. So just appreciate, as Commissioner Barlow indicated, your work, and it's great to see this data and the expenditure, the money going out the door, the people served, and that's good information to not only for us, but for the community as well, to be aware of what is being done with their funds. And I noticed that as you stated, that hiring continues to be an issue. The vacancy rate is, I can't remember what percentage it was, but 16% or something, is that correct?
It's 22.
22%,
22%.
yeah.
Commissioner.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, 22%.
I'm just wanting to understand a little bit better I know you do have a plan for addressing that. I just want to understand that a little bit better in terms of your approach to filling those vacancies.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Baca, workforce development is absolutely key in healthcare in general, and no less so when it comes to behavioral health. And we have, as part of our implementation plan for our 3-year strategic plan, to become a Medicaid provider. And there's a lot of development work we're going to need to do on the part of our staff and upgrading their skills levels and training. And I think that in the end, that will significantly help us with retention. But I think overall in the county, we're acutely aware of needing to do more in terms of early pipeline programs. And when we had our briefing with you the other day, Commissioner, we talked about the challenges in today's economy, and we talked about workforce development, but also the challenges with AI and robotics and et cetera. So increasingly, we're very committed to committing more of our resources for developing those pipeline programs, developing the staff we have, and doing a better job of retention overall.
Thank you. If I may just also just state, as I think you were here earlier in the day when we heard the economic development presentation, and we talked about the opportunities that the county is also developing in that arena to, grow our workforce and to educate people that might be interested in the career. So it'd be a great opportunity for, for collaboration in those endeavors. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? I leaned over to my colleague vice chair during the presentation here, who was also the co-sponsor on the Behavioral Health Authority ordinance that we passed over a year ago now, I guess that was. And I said, it's working. And that's what this is proof of to me, because when I was running for this office and when I was first in, we couldn't really get this information, right? How much money did we spend this year? Well, it depends. Are you talking about behavioral health dollars? Are you talking about grants? Are you talking about general fund? And you put it all right there on one slide, right? Over $50 million that we're spending, regardless of the source that's in this area, right? That's key to our community. You put out the information that I think the community really wants to know about contracts, right? That we are holding people accountable, right? 2 contractors were terminated because their contracts were not compliant with our standards and they were not being accountable. So we're willing to make the tough decisions that move us forward and, make sure that our dollars are well spent. But also 90% of our contractors were fully compliant. And that's showing that we've got a lot of really good partners out there in the community, and a few bad ones, and maybe a few that need some help, but aren't totally ready to throw out. So I think that this shows the transparency, right? And this is just the high level stuff. Going into the report, there's way more. And that was the whole point of this, right? To make sure that the community and, quite frankly, policymakers could answer our questions in a timely way, in a factual way that didn't require, people filing IPRAs or, meetings where, there was no end to the sort of question. So I just want to commend your team, the county manager, Deputy County Manager Lindstrom, and everybody involved. I see some other folks in the Behavioral Health Authority out here in the audience. So just want to appreciate you for implementing the vision. We had this vision that was based on the community feedback that we got, but it's you all that actually made that happen. We thought up the ideas, but you actually made them come to reality. And so we still got work to do, as noted by the vacancies and, some of the other things. But these kinds of changes take time. But I think that, over 1,000 people housed, right? That's a big deal. And that, we don't want to count our numbers twice, right? But, we pledged to the state that with their investment, we were going to house 1,000 people. And this, again, proves to me we can do that. I have even more faith now that we can execute on that, because we're executing on it already with our own money. And so we're going to leverage those state dollars to double down on that. So just really appreciate all your work and for sharing and collaborating in our vision. So really appreciate it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to echo that. I think the 2 words come to mind is accountability and professionalism that we're seeing here. And so bravo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, if I might, I'd like to thank my team. If they hadn't chosen to partner with me and make all this happen, it wouldn't have happened. So my gratitude is extended to them. Thank you.
Bravo, thank you. All right, we'll move right along to our fairly lengthy consent agenda. Madam Clerk, could you please provide resolution numbers for items 6F and 6L?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item 6F is AR 2025-120. 6L is AR 2025-121.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Just keeping my place here, sorry. So the consent agenda has been published and made available to the public. Resolutions have been introduced at previous meetings as per the rules. Therefore, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second from the Vice Chair and Commissioner Baca. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal in the affirmative.
Aye.
Yes. Any opposed? It's adopted by a 4-0 vote. So that takes us into our adoption of ordinances this evening. We have one, item 8A. We have
Mr. Chair, apologies
yes.
for the interruption. However, reviewing the attachments for item 8A, it should have been scheduled as an adoption of resolution for an introduction of a notice of intent. So it should be heard as item 9B with a number to be issued by Madam Clerk. So we can move on to 9A and then
8A will become 9B.
Scoot it down.
Okay, okay, so it's not an ordinance, basically.
Correct.
Right,
It'll come
okay.
back for final adoption as one, but the intro is a resolution.
Very good. So we'll skip to 9A, and then we'll hear 8A as 9B. Yes. Got it. Thank you.
Clear as mud.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, could we please get a resolution number for item 9A and 9B now?
Okay, Mr. Chair and Julianne, so 8A is an ordinance. 8A should be issued a resolution. However, it's not prompted for in the agenda, but there is
Right.
one attached.
Is that a financial?
Administrative.
Okay, so then 8A would be AR 2025-122. 8A 122, and then 9A. 9A, sorry guys, it was a late night last night. 2025, also an AR 2025-123.
Correct.
There we go.
All right, thank you. Thank you both for fixing that error there in the agenda. So we are still going to hear item 8A next?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
all right, let's go for it. So we've got economic development. Sorry, Director, you thought you had a little break there. So we've got economic development with the 4th Street Property Local Economic Development Act, and Director Gonzalez to present.
Apologies there, I thought I was the B. So, County Manager, did you have a few words before?
County Manager Chavez, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and perhaps I could start by turning it over through the chair to Commissioner Barbara Baca for some introductory comments, and then I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Commissioner
Mr.
Baca,
Chair.
please.
Thank you, County Manager, and thank you, Director Gonzalez. This is, I will remind everyone, a property on 4th Street, just south of Candelaria, that the county just closed on 2 weeks ago. And what we're doing here with this action is very exciting. Actually, it is a piece of property that is adjacent to the Yes Housing Affordable Housing there, Calle Cuarta on 4th Street. And we are looking to develop this into a community center for all ages. And what we're talking about tonight is a new idea, a financing mechanism using LIDA and partnering with a developer, and Marcos will go into that. But what this will allow us to do is really activate this property more quickly. It truly is a public facility that will be a center for all ages and an economic development project. And I just want to commit for the record that we will continue to engage in the community, with the community to revitalize this area. And we've met with a small working group, and we will continue in the beginning of January as we move forward on this LIDA project with the community engagement. So thank you, County Manager. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
and I did want to just affirm that we had a very, I thought, productive meeting with almost, I think, 7 neighborhood associations that surround that area. There's a ton of interest, a ton of excitement, and as we move through the LIDA process, while that process has its own benchmarks and other activities that we need to meet, we're not going to be doing any final commitments without first going out to the community as you have directed. So thank you.
Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So what we're talking about tonight is really the introduction of the mechanism to do the financing for any funding that we receive from the legislature for the development of the facility that's going to be the All Ages Center, an entrepreneurial center, as well as a center for the community. And so this is just the start of it, just the introduction of the process for the LIDA process. But as the manager and Commissioner Barbara Baca has said, it's not finalized tonight, and we'll have some robust community conversation going forward with it. So tonight, we're just asking for that approval of the introduction so we can start the process. And it's with Yes Housing Calle Cuarta Retail 2 LLC, which is the group that would actually be doing the development of the facility, from turning it from the cold shell that it is now into the all ages center. But that long group name is Yes Housing. So an overview, just for the public's notion, it's on 4th and Mildred in the 4th Street area. And this would be a space for small businesses would be activated, as well as, again, a third space for social engagement in that area. Yes Housing also does have a grant money that would actually be contributed into this as well to build out the tenant improvements for that space. So thinking of having small restaurants or the small services, and really building out that warm shell space for those entrepreneurs so they don't have to have that heavy lift of opening up a brick and mortar, and really revitalizing that part of that corridor. This is key to all the investment that has already happened and additional stakeholders that have moved into the area as well, from not only Bernalillo County with purchasing Poblana Place for permanent affordable housing, as well as the UNM Health Clinic, and partnering in with the school and the church as well. So what we're going to be working for, the actual development of the facility, is for requesting $15 million from the legislature, which may come in a multitude of different paths. We're still working with our legislators in Bernalillo County on how that will look like. But ultimately, we'll see as part of the agreement is that Yes Housing would create 8 full-time jobs and 25 part-time jobs in the area, and would be in that facility for a minimum of 3 years that we see in that. And we really see this as, again, an adaptive reuse of the existing building space that's there. As I said, there's been many partners that have been into the area, from UNM Health Clinic and ourselves, in purchasing affordable housing. That we've seen just over $65 million be invested into this area. And this would be a continued investment into this near North Valley area that we see would be great to showing additional public benefits into the area. Once again, as part of this introduction, we'll continue to have additional community discussion. This is a map of showing where those investments have happened, and new infrastructure has been placed into this corridor of 4th Street. And we welcome this new investment and inviting into that corridor, as we've invested into housing, but also providing these social spaces as well that will be a great asset to the area. And so, and for folks at home, again, LIDA is a way for us to convey something of value to a group. So in this case would be funding that we would be having into it. And it's really meant to, again, stimulate the economy, create new jobs, and encourage and create a positive environment for a business activity. And of course, with all of our economic development incentives, there's reporting and there's monitoring that goes on to making sure that those funds are safeguarded. So the next step is, at the session, we'll be asking for funding, and then we'll have community discussion, and then also we wouldn't bring this back until we actually have a funding amount and having a community discussion. That will be all part of a agreement with Yes Housing, and after that, of course, would be the execution of the construction and the job creation. But with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director. Commissioner Baca, did you want to start out with anything as the sponsor, or?
Well, I would like to move approval, to move things along.
All right, I'll second.
Thank you. And I guess I will just say that this is a unique space. We talked today all morning through the afternoon about economic development and revitalizing our communities and quality places. This is what we're trying to build here on a very difficult place, you know, near North Valley, 4th Street, where we're really trying to make some improvements, and I think Mr. Gonzalez has talked about some of that investment that has gone in there. This continues that and making those connections. So it's a really exciting project. We'll be lobbying at the legislature for funding for this revitalization project, and hopefully we'll be bringing some money back for construction, for planning, design, construction. So I urge your support on it.
Thank you, Commissioner Baca. Any others? Vice Chair Barboa?
Yes, thank you. I guess, so yay that we're thinking of different ways to do this. Is this not, so this community center, all life center, would not be a county facility?
Yes, I'm sorry. Madam Chair and Commissioner Roy, correct, it would be a county facility still. The yes would be operating kind of the front building of it with as the entrepreneurial area responsible for that, and Parks and Rec will work on the back half, which is where the third space community activities will be happening.
Okay, perfect. And so I say this just in asking here on unemployment, right? It talks about 8 full-time, part-time, 25 part-time. That's for the county? Like, is that the full employment?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Barboa, that's those 8 jobs is what YES is projecting on building out in the entrepreneurial area based on the businesses that they would anticipate locating into the area of what they have planned on locating in that area.
Which is great. They're creating an environmental, or an entrepreneurial hub that they expect to have about 8 full-time and 25 part-time jobs that they're generating out of this space.
County Manager Chavez, if you want
to. Mr. Chair and Commissioner Barboa, the job count in this doesn't include the county jobs that would be added in. This would just be from the private area jobs that YES Housing would be doing. But we can update you.
Because they would be getting people to maybe run businesses out of those hubs.
So the idea is for that hub there, for the businesses to be locating in there and having employees, whether if it's a coffee shop and a different sandwich shop, or if it was
they would do the work to recruit
they would
those
be
people.
They would be the one to recruit those people and have them be there. And ideally, in some cases, it would be like maybe there's even people that are living next door in Calle Cuarta that are able to open up their small business next door. And the idea is being able to lower the infrastructure costs of being able to have a business in a brick and mortar situation by having a lot of the infrastructure and placement being done for you, being able to just really plug and play and move in and operate your business.
So thank you, Director Gonzalez. That takes me to my other part. So it says here that that the county, and let's say, because directly to Commissioner Olivas' points before, like we give lots of money to big corporations from out of state or big developers that come and just clean up their own buildings that for whatever. So I'm not against anything. I just want to make sure I understand that it says here that in our packets that the employees supporting this section will be employed by or contracted by YES Housing, with the county providing a service fee to sustain program and operations. So I guess just that, so what is that part, service fee to sustain program and operations?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Barboa, that part should have actually came out of the packet, and I apologize, that's still in there because we'll actually be operating the county facility portion. So there won't be a county fee for the operation piece.
May I just add, what's a little, so we're laying out, based on our long-term relationship with YES Housing and the experience they have, a framework for this kind of agreement. We haven't done this with a community center mix of, the mixed use per se. And so one of the next steps will be a more robust discussion with them about what the financial structure looks like. The reason we're introducing it to you with this framework is we think, one, we want to make sure we pass the LEDA test, because the LEDA test says, but for LEDA, you would not be developing this project. And what's very accurate about that is we would not normally look to activate the front of our even our community centers necessarily with businesses. So this is a little bit new. So I suspect that by the time we come back, obviously we're going to have the framework as we have to have it to make sure it's legally sound, but it will be, I think, more vetted as we move through this process.
Thank you, County Manager. And if I may continue, Chair. So that makes sense to me. I guess a couple of my first things that come into my head are just that, and I am so glad this Yes Housing, it's local, it's not some national corporation that we don't know about, but just that I would hope that the county could be involved in like, what's the criteria for these new businesses? Because I trust that Yes Housing will want new startups or whatever, but just that how much are we able to be involved in, like, if there's retail shops, are they going to be for free? Are they charging rent? Does that rent come to Yes Housing then, or to us? And I love the idea of it being for free for like a startup business or something, but yeah, do we get to be a part of picking those startup businesses, or I don't know how that might work. I guess I'm just interested to know about that. And then, and just to that point, like, because we're all working together to get this building, but then, and the community center part, I fully understand, and I love the idea of Life Center. And then if there's an economic development part to it, just that I would hope that we'd want to be closely involved with that. So that it meets the benefit, what we're seeing the need is for new start. I'm also making big assumptions that it's startup, and maybe it's not.
Well, they, on packet page 720, so I don't know what it looks like on your screens, there is a description of, they're looking more at food-based businesses for that area. And also, I'll just remind folks that the Yes Housing has done a ton of community outreach there, in part because they built their housing with retail on the bottom. So I think they have a pretty good assessment of what the community is interested in. That said, they have a grant. They have, Marcos, what kind of grant is it?
I believe it's called from the CCS, I think from the environmental health group, about building out space for underserved populations. And so a lot of the kind of typical tenant they'd be looking for is like somebody who's graduated out of the SVDC, who's hit that like 5-year piece on their business and they've established it, but now needs to like look for a new space. And so it's looking for being a landing pad for those folks that have already started a business and have proven a concept piece, but now actually need a place to land, but the threshold to actually move in because the infrastructure cost is still too high for them to continue that business. So this is really meant to be into that more than just a true startup, but a landing space for folks in the community.
Thank you, and I'll just close. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Marcus and County Manager Chavez. That sounds beautiful to me. I would love those details maybe explained, because that idea of that we're creating a continuum of how we support businesses and follow through. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Other commissioners with questions or comments? No? All right, I have a couple. So a lot of it's on the lines of kind of what the Vice Chair was saying, and I think it's just because we don't have a lot of familiarity with this kind of partnership, and I guess I wouldn't want to call it a public-private partnership because this isn't really a private entity. They're kind of a public nonprofit. Like, I mean, most of their work is done through the public realm. So, I mean, and this goes along the lines, County Manager Chavez, I think we'll appreciate this with regards to the CIP ordinance that we've been working on together. So, questions that I sort of have here, just because of the way that we've thought through that, is who's going to be responsible for maintaining these commercial kitchen areas that I can imagine you may have a lot of tenants cycling in and out. I mean, I hope they're successful and they're there for a long time, but and so you may have varying levels of usage and abuse and those kinds of things. So who's going to maintain that and at whose expense? And along those same lines, have we done any projections for what our operational costs are going to be for this facility? That's included if in fact we are paying for the upkeep of that part of the building. But of our part of the building, because we're saying we're going to operate kind of a guess, a conventional community center, you know, a basketball gym and pickleball courts and, you know, community rooms and yoga classes or whatever programming our team decides is appropriate there, and the community wants there. Do we have any idea of what that operational cost looks like? I guess we're saying the whole thing is 15 million to just kind of build it from the ground up, but what is it going to cost us to run it?
Really excellent questions, and I will say, and I'll rely on Marcos potentially to jump in on the kitchen, but let me just make an observation. One is that as an institution, one of the things we'll be voting on, or you all will be voting on, that we'll be presenting to you a little later in the agenda is getting additional updated software. And I'll just share a couple of my concerns relative to how we project. We, as an institution, will start to do more as we get through our CIP process, once we choose an item that we're going to build and we have a sense about construction, because this money is primarily for construction. We're going to marry that with the operational investments that are necessary so that when you're voting on these items in the future, you're looking at the whole cost of the project. And we haven't had a history of doing that. We will get there. And one of the reasons we're establishing the Budget and Policy Office is that we want to give our staff the tools to do projections out as we look at specific projects. Under Shirley's leadership, we absolutely embed those into the ongoing budget, but even with Sidio Ridge, you've given us some direction. You brought it up as part of our budget workshop, and I think that's important because all of these items have to have an ongoing accounting so that we understand when we can continue to go fast and when we have to slow down in terms of operations. So all of those questions are ones that we hope in the future to be much more rigorous about. Now, one thing we can absolutely do as we're working with the community and the community's planning the types of activities that they want to see there, absolutely come back to you all saying, you know, here's what the plan for the building looks like, here's what the cost for those activities will be in the future. My hope is that we're not over the next year that you're not voting on anything in a capital realm that we're not attaching the operational dollars to. But it's going to take us a bit to get there.
Okay, very good. Deputy County Manager Townsend, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay, you're good. And can someone answer, Director, maybe about the kitchens and that space?
I'm going to leave the hard part for him.
Chair,
Talk about those kitchens.
And members of the commission. So the goal would be to work with, on like the lease payments that are paid and that entrepreneurial piece to set up like sinking funds for ongoing maintenance that's in there. So that way the building's taking care of itself from those lease payments. So we'll have that detail structured out when we bring it back on how that's going to be. So you can see the operational intent behind the entrepreneurial area as well.
I think that's great, and it's really important, and I realize it's probably a little unfair to most of my colleagues because they haven't necessarily seen what's being thought of about CIP, but you know, most of it's kind of out there already. So kind of trying to hold you to a standard that we haven't formally adopted yet, but I think it's just important that we start to really think about that, especially when it's something new. And I'm glad you pointed out that I requested the positions for the facility that I wanted to open. So I'm gonna put pressure on my colleague here to make sure that we're requesting positions for the facilities we want to open because, you know, actually it's relatively easy to raise $15 million in capital, right? Because it's just one-time money. Yeah, knock on wood, but relatively speaking, right? Each senator or representative gets couple million, you know, you get a couple senators, representative that's gung-ho about it, you can get $5 million. Not that difficult. And then we've got our bond and, you know, all these other ways that you can build that. But what's it going to cost to operate it? Because if we're talking about a flat budget year where we just heard that it's probably around $11 million of new money, but that's across the organization, contract escalations, or, you know, do employees see any cost of living increases? That probably eats up most of that or all of that, and then any new initiatives. So I totally support this. By no means am I saying, you know, we shouldn't do it, but I just think we've got to make sure that we're making sure that we understand the whole commitment we're making, not just to raise $15 million and then we're done. It's $15 million and then I don't know how much it is per year, and that's what I'm really hoping we can get
And I'll
some
just
answers up.
add, Chair, the other thing I want to just add that I think is really critical, in this particular area, we have another challenge, which is that the area that we've invested a lot of public dollars in and that we're going to be engaging the city because the city's doing a lot of work on this street. And Commissioner Baca has asked us to partner with the city while we're looking at the investments on this street from the county, as well as what we expect and anticipate our partnership from the city to yield. We have another issue, which is that we need to have some short-term investments to keep the facility active and to keep that area active and safe, and so the building's not vandalized while we're working to improve it. And then to your other point, and I would just say this is true for City of Ridge or for all of these projects, which is as we start to project when projects are going to open, then we can more realistically attach how many years out are we going to be looking for addition X or addition Y. And so we're hoping to get sophisticated enough that you'll be able to look at that over a period of time instead of these snapshots, which I think are very challenging. And again, for all of you, balancing what do we invest in, I think that all will be very helpful. But we'll get there. We're not there yet, but we will.
And my guess is that it's because we're so early in the development, this current budget cycle, we probably don't have a whole lot to worry about as far as ongoing operations.
Well, mostly,
but
we will have
future.
we will have some because we're going to be doing some interim activation on the site. And in part because what we don't yet know is how much money we'll receive over what period of time. And so making sure that that facility stays active, because not keeping it active will have additional costs for us in terms of the physical infrastructure there. So we have more to do.
And last thing I wanted to say was just on the sinking fund with the nonprofit partners, just that is really important so that we don't end up in a situation like we have with other nonprofits where 10 years down the road, they're going in there and saying, this place is a dump, we can barely use it, and now the county's got to put, a bunch of money into it to maintain it or to upgrade it. Rather, if we're able to collect rents or some percentage of payments from tenants and the partner that, is explicitly earmarked and saved for that facility and for future upkeep and maintenance, then we avoid all of that. And it's self-sustaining, so I think that's really important. I think the vice chair wanted to chime in again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure to say, well, I guess I'm not sure what any of our processes for evaluation are on, and I get to work closely with Dr. Lindstrom to know how we're thinking about evaluation for our behavioral health. But in these instances, there's quite a few actually. There's a place I always talk about here downtown that it's like mixed use, mixed living incomes, and then had a coffee shop that was really successful for a long time, and then the coffee shop no longer exists, and the affordable housing or mixed income housing I think still exists, or even like the Silver Lofts that I know the county is a part of, it had that retail space also, and I don't think I know there was like a good bar and it looked like a fun little place to maybe go to, but it no longer exists either. I think the affordable housing part still is very functioning. So I guess I just would love to, it feels like there's been quite a few places that have tried to attach retail spaces to it in the hopes for this economic development. I just don't know that they're working. I know in my district, which I know is a hard district, there's a bunch of retail space that's empty. Even Bob's Burgers was there and couldn't last, and they left out of my district. So I guess I just think of all the open and empty retail spaces we do have across the city, and if that so even if we're taking this leap, great, and can we make sure we're evaluating it, its success or not success, so we can keep saying, let's keep doing these things or not. Otherwise, I think it's great potential.
Thank you. All good feedback.
Anyone else? All right, very good. We have a motion and a second. And seeing no further discussion, we'll close the floor. All those in favor signal in the affirmative.
Aye.
Yes. Any opposed? It's adopted on a 5-0 vote. Congratulations, Commissioner Baca. So now this is going to confuse me a little bit again. I think we're on item 9A. Okay, yeah, so we're just sticking with the numbering we already have. And we've already got a resolution number for that, so we've heard about this a little bit already. Our information technology enterprise resource planning system. And we have Chief Information Officer Robert Bernalillo to present along with his staff. Ready.
Is it on? All right, I couldn't see the red. I'm blind. My apologies. Chair Olivas, Vice Chair Barboa, Commissioners, Madam County Manager, thank you for allowing us to come to speak with you tonight about the ERP investment that we're looking to move forward with. Standing with me is Marilyn Howard. Marilyn Howard is our IT Senior Manager in charge of ERP systems, and so she's a driving force behind getting us to this point tonight. And as I understand it, there's some significant interest in this, and I'm really glad for that. County Manager Chavez alluded to the fact that the way this is key for us is it's foundational. It's foundational to the investments that you want to make in things like housing, like we heard from Marcos, even the behavioral health topics like we heard earlier today. Our financial systems, as they stand today, were built back in 2007. We live in a very different world in 2025 than 2007, and our systems are currently reflecting that. So as discussed earlier, we're requesting a deviation from the rules to allow us to vote on this tonight. The reason we're doing that is we stand to realize about $1.7 million of incentives if we're able to get the contract approved and signed by the end of this year. It's been a crunch to get to this point, but we're going to be able to do that. The other accelerant behind bringing this to you tonight is as the years progress, since our new county manager has joined us, it's become very evident the lack of capability within our financial systems. Simple questions like, what is our spend against a given contract, are impossible to clearly answer in our current systems. The new system will allow us to do exactly that. So the motions we have before you tonight is the administrative resolution 2025-123 to appropriate $1.8 million for the purchase of a new ERP financial system. We're also asking for the authorization for the county manager to execute the contract with SAP Public Services in the amount of $10,941,727 over the life of the 5-year contract. So it's roughly about $2 million a year is what we're looking at, 2.3 total. And also to allow the county manager to approve expenditures exceeding the signature limit of $300,000. And then finally to execute any related agreements to this procurement and the implementation thereof. Our current systems as they stand today, as I mentioned, they're very old. 2008 is when we implemented the SAP system. It was authorized by Commission in 2007. Bonfire is the system they currently use for competitive procurements. That was implemented in 2022, but it really falls short of the capability that we need as well. The new solution that we're bringing forward for your consideration is an upgrade of our SAP system from what's detailed ECC 6.0 to a drastic improvement in SAP known as S4HANA. And that's going to be coupled with something called SAP Ariba. Ariba will take the place of Bonfire in terms of competitive solicitations, and SAP S4HANA will take the place of our core financial systems. So everything from our general ledger to our grant management, the core around our procurements will go through that SAP system. So those are the two primary systems being replaced. There are some auxiliary systems being replaced, but I won't touch on those tonight. So how did we get to this point? So we've looked at the pain points across all of our current systems that we have in place. We met with all of the key directors and gathered that information. We attended demos, conferences, and spoke with our peer organizations that are similar to Bernalillo County. We performed quite a bit of research into the ERP systems and options. And we come to you asking for approval on SAP Ariba and S4HANA. We feel that's the best fit for the county, not only as our needs stand today, but it gives us the flexibility we need to be able to move into the future and adapt to the changes that we foresee in the coming decade. So tonight, what we're moving forward with is SAP. It's going to give us a unified system for solicitations, contracts, and supplier management. It provides strong vendor vetting and integration with S4, real-time spend tracking and robust reporting, which we lack today. Some of the benefits we see is it's a much more modern, user-friendly interface. So we'll have things like mobile access. It'll have real-time integration and analytics built into the system. It'll improve our financial reporting process. Right now, the production of our CAFR, Consolidated Annual Financial Report, takes hundreds, if not 1,000 or more hours for our accounting department to produce on a regular basis. The new system will produce it at a push of a button. Literally, we demonstrated that a month ago. And then it'll give us a robust system for managing segregation of duties, process compliance and controls to really minimize our financial risk. So as we go into audits and as we're looking at our spends, we'll be able to drill down and make sure everything's being spent appropriately and the right folks are making the decisions along that path. And then importantly for us from a technology standpoint is it provides an enhanced architecture. That enhanced architecture allows us to adapt to changes that we're going to see coming from the county that we haven't been able to do in the current system. The current system is very customized. That makes it very difficult to adapt to change. The new system allows for that. So our next steps is with your approval tonight, we will be able to sign that contract, realize that $1.7 million of savings. That $1.7 million of savings is not yet accounted for in this financial request. It's tied to certain milestones in the project. So when those milestones actually hit will dictate when we can realize those incentives. But essentially they'll be spread over the first 2 years, thus reducing our costs. With that, we'll stand for any further questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Benavides. Commissioners, any questions or a motion? Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a good move. We need to update our reporting for sure. But are we going to be continuing to pay for our current financial software? And I assume we'll be running them in tandem while it takes 30 months potentially to transition. Will it be an additional cost for the current system?
Chair and Commissioner, thank you for your question. Very good question. You are correct. The old systems will be phased out over the implementation timeframe, which is 24 to 36 months. So once we reach the end of that period, the costs and the old systems will be retired, and so we'll have an offset in cost. What we're paying for our old systems will now help pay for our new systems.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Anyone else? Yes, Vice Chair Barbeau.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this presentation. I guess, is SAP just a name of an organization, or does it stand for something?
It does. There may be an acronym. I don't believe it's an acronym. My understanding through the years, it's just the name of the corporation that sells the software.
Capital
SAP.
A-S, capital A, capital
SAP, exactly. Good question.
Say a lot about this. No, just kidding. Okay, and then you're saying the SAP Ariba with one R is for behavioral health, is where?
Vice Chair and Commissioners, so SAP Ariba is what will handle like all of our contract management and all of our competitive solicitations. So our whole life cycle of contracts will be managed in that system. So when I get a question like I've received from the county manager, how much have we spent on this contract in the last 3 years consecutively, I'll be able to go to a system, get a report, and present that information. As opposed to this financial year, I had to research every single PO and try to align that with a contract, which was literally dozens of hours, if not hundreds of hours.
If I might just
Yes, Deputy
expand
County
on
Manager
what you're
Reagan.
saying. I think your question was, you were asking about behavioral health dollars. So SAP is where all of our financial data sits regardless of the funding source. So by replacing all of that, yes, behavioral health and any funding that we have. So it's basically our system of record for all of our financial data and our budget data. So
and our contracts.
Yes, contracts, all of that stuff. So payroll data, after it comes out of Workday, deposits itself at a different level in SAP, which then turns into all of our financial statements, which Jackie will be coming up to talk about the ACFR later on. But basically it houses, and it's our formal system of record for all of the financial data and financial statements that are produced by the county.
And then I guess to follow up, I don't really understand then what's the difference with SAP S4 on it?
Great question. I'll try to make that more clear. So SAP Ariba is specifically targeted around procurements. And the way we're going to use it is around competitive solicitations of procurements. Embedded in there is contract management capability. So we'll be able to have things like boilerplate contracts. So we make sure whenever we author a new contract, it's got all the terms and conditions that I need from an IT perspective, terms and conditions risk needs from theirs, and then we'll be able to track the life cycle of those contracts. When we come around to our budget planning, we'll be able to pull up all of our own old contracts, see what our spends are, and use that to build our budget upon, as opposed to literally Excel spreadsheets we're using today.
Thank you. And so I have heard from quite a few folks that providers that Bonfire is hard to navigate and maybe outdated, doesn't give a lot of what they need. So I'm excited that we're thinking of something different. And I guess what is the I guess I just want to ask and make sure, because I often hear at the other end, like, oh, it didn't match with the state one that we interact with, or the city uses a different one, so now we can't communicate with them. And so those two things, but I don't know if they even apply in this situation. But mostly that I know Dr. Lindstrom has been working towards a way that our behavioral health providers, that we're possibly lessening the burden on providers as far as, and I think these systems have a lot to do with lessening the burden. So has that been sort of thought through in this new?
So Chair, Vice Chair, it's a good question. One of the key things that SAP Ariba brings with it is it has a robust and developed vendor ecosystem. So many of our vendors, we've already looked, about 60% of them are already registered in Ariba. So when we implement, they will already automatically be registered to do business with Bernalillo County. And one of the strategies we use is we look at our vendors that we have used most recently historically, and then part of the process is to engage them through our implementation to get them to onboard through Ariba. That ecosystem serves all of the customers that use SAP Ariba, so there's significant advantage and benefit for those vendors to register through that network.
Okay, thank you. And then this is my last question, is that also I hear a lot of times that I saw somewhere on here that it says project, I don't know if that means compliance or what did it say? Detailed project planning as one of the benefits of that. And I guess I also hear a lot that, or even in my own experience, our very first time, that the compliance, like, so we have these beautiful contracts that say we're supposed to be doing all these things, but how we hold compliance to those contracts. Does this help that at all?
You're asking really good questions. Thank you, Vice Chair. So currently our contract system is a system that was developed in-house by Bernalillo County probably a dozen years ago. And so it does not have all of those capabilities that you're alluding to. The contract management within SAP Ariba is built into there. So we can much more easily manage those contracts over time and administer those contracts, vendor performance against those, et cetera.
Thank you very much. That's the last of my questions.
And if I may just chime in on that question, I think that's such an excellent question about, the fact that we have so many different types of contracts. How does the contract manager know what they're supposed to be looking at? And so one of the, first of all, I just want to say Marilyn Howard's amazing. And Robert, under Robert's leadership, this was a very, very complex process. I mean, they had to dig in, work with our departments. And so a big piece of this is going to be how we train people. Another piece of it is going to be not using our current processes in a system that gives us more options and opportunities. So, and that's significant because if we're taking the way, let me just say this, if all we were doing was taking the Excel sheet and the process we use in the Excel sheet and moving it over, we wouldn't see improvements in performance. So one of the reasons I was really excited about this is that I think it gives us an opportunity to be much more detailed, but we're gonna also work with Robert's team to make the training more robust so that we're really improving processes, because what I get concerned about is spending a whole bunch of money on a system and then using the processes that have steps we don't need. And, so this is going to be very, very exciting. And the other thing I just wanted to add that they didn't share is that we are also buying an AI component that allows us to assist staff if staff on an ongoing basis is having a difficult time utilizing the technology. And, you know, it's a little like that chat bot that pops up and says, you know, pick me, I'm gonna give you a smart idea because you're doing it slow. So it, you know, it's that, but it's also one that will allow for more collaboration between work partners, because whoever really understands the system, that this process will allow the person who's having a challenge to know who they can go to on their floor who understands the process they're trying to use. So what I'm really hopeful of is that this is not only going to give us an opportunity to share information that you all have been requesting and that I want, but also I think really allowing us to improve processes. It should make it easier. In the short run, everybody's going to be really angry and tense about it, but once we learn it, we're going to love each other again, and it's going to be, I think, really improve the way we're providing information to you, and frankly, even internally, being able to do a better job of determining whether or not we're watching what we're supposed to be watching.
Okay. So I'll follow up on that with the contract management questions, maybe just a very simple answer. So I think it's a standard thing in most of our contracts, right? The contractor is required to carry a certificate of insurance with our name on it to a certain amount. How do we manage that now, and how, if any way, does this improve that kind of thing? Does it automate that? Does it make it easier?
Charlie, that's very, very good question. That was one of the key capabilities we were looking at in the systems that we compared. Today, we do that manually. And best case, somebody puts on a calendar, remembers to go check it and follow up. The new system will allow us to have expirations on those certificates of insurance and contact names, so that as one's coming to expire, the administrator of that will get reminded. They can reach out to the vendor, get the new one loaded into the system, tag it with the new dates, and the cycle continues. So that was one of the key capabilities that procurement was looking for in the new system.
That's great. So, I mean, really, right now, we're just kind of, maybe we catch it, maybe we don't. So that's fantastic. And then, you know, you talked a little bit about project planning, and so, you know, the item before this, I was kind of asking about that. So would this be able to easily estimate if, you know, you're talking to the pros team and they say, well, we think we're gonna need a manager, an assistant manager, and 5, you know, of these people and 1 of these people, you know, can this just kind of easily create that?
Chair Olivas, that's a great question, and thank you, County Manager, for alluding to that earlier. So over time, we will develop that kind of information. It will give us like that historic, right? So we'll be able to look at back and say, what was the staffing when we did the 4th Street development? And so for future projects, we'll be able to take that as a template and use that to plan our 5-year commitments and our 10-year commitments. So you're not making a decision like you're having to do tonight just on 1 year's worth of data or 2 years, you know, look ahead. We'll have a look ahead of 5 or 10 years based on historic performance and reality.
Okay. And then another question. So right now, and I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but I've asked a question in the past about Los Vecinos and how much money have we raised, from what sources, and how much have we spent on the various phases that we've already implemented. And I don't know how easy that question is to answer. Currently, does this have any impact on that?
Sure, Charlie, that's a very good question, and you are correct in what you've heard and what you're hearing right now is that's difficult to do today. At the core of the system is called something called a chart of accounts, right? And that's kind of what all of your fund centers are, how they're organized within the county. And that chart of accounts, as it was developed back in 2008, comprehended a much different environment than we're operating in today. It's much more complex. There's much more different types of funding opportunities, mixing of grant dollars and state dollars and county dollars. The new system will bring in a new chart of accounts that will be developed for exactly that kind of reality today, so that we can do that reporting regardless of any of those funding sources, both the planned as well as the actuals when we are begin spending against them.
Great. All right. That sounds like that answers all my questions and moves us forward. The only concern I really have is that it's a 5-year contract. It's a very expensive contract. And if it's going to take 36 months, assuming the worst case, that's like more than half of the life of the contract before we're actually using it. And so, you know, how long will this actually be sort of top of the line software before, you know, are we going to get into this and all of a sudden 2 years later it's obsolete?
Commissioner Rivas, very, very good question. So the strategy that we're using on this project is we're going to implement SAP Ariba first. That's our biggest pain point, and that'll be a faster implementation. That probably gives us that by probably the end of next year. We'll have this SAP Ariba in place, and then we'll move into the financial side once we've got enough done with Ariba. The other thing I would respond to in terms of your question is, as I kind of alluded to, our current system is very difficult to change, and that's one of the reasons it still looks largely like it did in 2008. There's extensive customizations in there, so anytime you want to change something, you have to change multiple places, and so that gets expensive to maintain, and that makes it complex to try to implement change. The new system, after the years of learning with SAP and their customers, divides those customizations into a configuration layer and a fundamental clean core, they call it, architecture layer, that allows you to maintain those two independently so you can adapt to change much more easily than you can in the system that was architected in 2000, essentially.
All right, thank you. I appreciate all your answers to my questions.
You got it.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
Second from the vice chair. Any further discussion? None? All right, we'll close the floor. All those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes? Any opposed? All right, that's adopted on a 5-0 vote. Thank you so much. Thank you to your whole team for your work.
Great job, guys.
All right, we'll move on to introduction of resolutions. All resolutions requiring 2 hearings before final approval, except in cases of special exceptions. The first hearing will serve as the resolution's introduction, so that's today. The public's encouraged to review, introduce resolutions, and sign up to ask questions and provide public comments. And then the following items will be returned at subsequent meetings for final adoption consideration. So we'll start with 2 items from the Housing Department. We have the Bernalillo County Housing Department Fair Market Rents for 2026. Your mic's off. Till it turns red. There you go.
Am I good? Okay,
Yes.
there, I'll just scream into it and then everybody will hear me. Okay. Good evening, Chair Olivas, members of the commission. My name is Carrie Ellis and I'm the Deputy Director for the Housing Department. I'm here today to present a couple of agenda items this evening, the first of which is the fair market rent adjustments for calendar year 2026. So fair market rents, often called FMRs, play a critical role in our housing voucher operations. These FMRs are set each year by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. HUD calculates them at the 40th percentile of gross rents within each jurisdiction and provides public housing authorities with the flexibility to set payment standards between 90 and 110% of the published fair market rent. This flexibility allows Bernalillo County to respond to market conditions and ensure families have meaningful access to quality housing options. Under the federally funded voucher structure, a tenant typically pays 30% of their household income toward rent and utilities, while the remaining portion is covered based on the fair market rent. These adjustments include 2 key points. So first, we have a minor increase to studios and efficiencies, and that's reflected as 0 bedrooms on the chart to bring the units into alignment with HUD's calendar year 2026 rents. Second, we are maintaining the current 2025 payment standards for 1 through 6 bedroom units. Keeping these rates steady allows us to stay roughly 3% above HUD's suggested fair market rent levels. Maintaining this cushion is essential as it allows the county to remain in a neutral position to react either positively or negatively to the rental market fluctuations. It strengthens our ability to compete in the rental market, increasing housing choice, and supports our clients in successfully securing a landscape where rents continue to rise. We are requesting approval for introduction of an administrative resolution establishing the Bernalillo County fair market rent for 2026. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Commissioners, any questions or motion? Vice Chair Barboa?
I move to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes? Any opposed?
Yes.
All right, that passes on a 5-0 vote. And Ms. Ellis, I think you're next for item B, the utility allowances for 2026.
Also a very fun topic. The next item on the agenda is the calendar year 2026 utility allowance adjustments. Each year, public housing authorities are required to review and, when necessary, update utility allowances. So as mentioned, public housing authorities are required by federal regulation to maintain a current and accurate utility allowance schedule for all tenant-paid utilities. This schedule must be reviewed annually, and if utility costs change by more than 10% in either direction, the allowances must be updated to reflect those changes. To ensure accuracy and impartiality, the Housing Department works with a third-party organization that specializes in utility surveys and cost studies. Their analysis forms the basis for our updated utility allowance figures. In housing voucher operations, tenants typically pay 30% of their income toward rent and utilities combined. If a tenant is responsible for paying utilities directly, the Housing Department provides a utility allowance, which is deducted from their rent portion to help cover reasonable utility consumption. For voucher participants who do not have income and are still responsible for their utilities, a utility allowance payment may be issued directly to assist them in covering those costs. This ensures that households are not overburdened by required utilities and can maintain safe and stable housing. For this year's analysis, we reviewed utility rates from October 2024 through September 2025. Because several utility providers exceeded the 10% threshold, adjustments for calendar year 2026 are required. Here's what we found. PNM electricity costs increased by an average of 12%. New Mexico Gas Company decreased by 18%, offering a little bit of relief. Propane prices increased by an average of 4%, and the City of Albuquerque trash collection fees saw an increase of 1%. So these changes taken together have driven the need for the updated utility allowances. The goal is to ensure that the support provided to tenants accurately reflects realistic and current utility costs. These adjustments for calendar year 2026 will help ensure fairness, affordability, and regulatory compliance across our operations. We are requesting approval for introduction for an administrative resolution establishing the Bernalillo County Housing Department utility allowances for 2026. Thank you for your time today, and I stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Any questions, commissioners? All right, I make a motion for approval.
Second.
Second from Vice Chair Barboa. And seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes?
Yes.
Any opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along. 2 more items left. Item 11A, we've got our annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2025. And we have our Budget Director, Jackie Sanchez, to present.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You'll bear with me one moment. My name is Jackie Sanchez, Director of Accounting and Budget. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, joining us this evening is Bernalillo County's contracted external auditors, Baker Tilly LLP, formerly known as Moss Adams, approved by the Office of State Auditor, OSA. To present this next agenda item, this is the second year that they perform the financial and single audit during the contracted period. I will introduce them shortly and turn it over to them. But first, I would like to recognize our audit committee. They were not able to make it this evening, but we have Mandy Funches, CPA, Armando Sanchez, CPA, Attorney Johanna Cox. We are very grateful for their dedicated support and volunteer time that they serve the county. Thank you to my accounting general ledger staff for completing the FY25 year-end close and preparation of the annual comprehensive financial report. And thank you to all the departments, DCMs, county manager, and elected officials for your support. This is a motion to accept the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. The state auditor has already approved the ACFR. And please note that the single audit will be presented separately in January of 2026. I'll explain briefly, and the auditors will elaborate. It is mandated by the Audit Act that the county's annual financial and compliance audit be completed by independent public accounting IPA firm approved by the state auditor. Accounting and Budget contracted with IPA firm Baker Tilly LLP to perform the audit for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. The entrance conference was held on June 26th, 2025. The exit conference was held on November 10th, 2025. Federal law requires that single audit be performed for federal grant funds. Now, due to the delay in the release of the final 2025 compliance supplement for federal single audits, OSA granted an exception to the audit rule requirement to submit audits under one cover. Bernalillo County is therefore choosing to submit a separate uniform guidance report. An OSA contract amendment has been executed to formally break the one cover requirement. I would like to add that the delay was due to the government shutdown, and there was no rulemaking during that time. Although we were on time, there was uncertainty when the guidance would be available. And the state suggested amending our contract to deviate from the one cover reporting, and this is a one-time occurrence. In accordance with the Audit Act, Baker Tilly submitted the ACFR to OSA for final review and approval, and we're very thrilled that we received the official release letter. Following the Board of County Commissioners' acceptance, the FY25 ACFR report will become public record and will be submitted to the Government Finance Officers Association for consideration of the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The independent auditor report can be located at the front of the financial section of the ACFR. And let's see here, supporting documentation includes the FY25 ACFR, financial analysis form, auditor's presentation, and OSA's release letter. Joining us this evening, I would like to welcome Mr. Corey Hogan, Engagement Principal, and Mr. Jeff Roybal, Assurance Manager. I will now turn it over to them. Thank you.
Slides right there.
Huh?
Gotcha.
Yeah. There you
It's
You're ready to go. Mic's on.
Good. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. It's kind of the victory lap when you're able to report out on an audit that, based on the timeline just presented, took 5 months. It didn't actually take 5 months. I can't take credit for that. We did kick off the audit in June. We came out in the June and July timeframe and do a lot of interim planning work. We look at your internal controls. We do a lot of interviews and walkthroughs to see how transactions are processed. And then we back off and we let the staff and the finance department close the books after the June 30 books. So we stay out of their way for a couple months, and then we come back in September, and during September and October is when we really do what you would think of an audit for, when we're selecting samples and sending out confirmation letters and doing recalculations and whatnot. So it is a lengthy process, and it went very smoothly this year. Everybody worked really hard at the county. It's really a pleasure to work with the team here because of the level of organization and commitment that everybody has. My name is Corey Hogan again. I'm a principal with Baker Tilly here in Albuquerque, joined by Jeff Rayball, who is the manager, the on-site manager that was really involved in the day-to-day audit work out here. And we're here to report out on the financial statement audit for the year ended June 30th, 2025. As was mentioned, this is a little bit of a unique year, partly due to the federal government shutdown this fall. We didn't get the audit guide or the compliance requirements from the federal agencies to do the single audit, the testing of your compliance with the federal programs that the county administers. So the state auditor issued guidance saying that they wanted the 2 reports issued separately this year. Were the financial statements is the 250-page document that you have in your packets. That's what we're reporting out on tonight. The single audit, which is the compliance report on the federal programs, will be issued in January as the second part this year. We did receive that compliance guidance on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so we do have it now, and we're ready to move forward and wrap up that part of the audit. We do plan to issue, or we did issue, I'm sorry, 2 reports in the financial statements that you do have. The first is the report of independence on your financial statements, that they are presented completely and accurately in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. The second report that's required and that was issued is in the back of your financial statements, and that's the report on internal controls over financial reporting, and that's required under government auditing standards for state and local government agencies. We issued what's called an unmodified opinion. That's a clean report on the financial statements. There was one modification this year that was very standard across all governments. The county implemented a new accounting standard this year related to the accrual for compensated absences or vacation or PTO time that changed the fund balances slightly this year. And as a result of that, we called that out in an explanatory paragraph in the audit opinion, but that was the only modification this year, and that was very standard across all the governments. As I mentioned, we're going to issue the single audit report separately. We also issue a separate report for the county to HUD, the HUD submission on the REACT system, and that will also take place in January. Just a brief summary of our audit approach. I alluded to this earlier. We had the entrance conference back in June, and then we divide our audit up into basically three sections. We do a lot, about 40% of our audit work is looking at internal controls, the checks and balances that are in place at the county for processing financial information, transaction, cash collections, procurement, disbursements, payroll, all those kind of functions that take place. We develop analytical procedures or ratios where we build expectations based on past performance, based on the budget, based on the legal code, where we kind of expect the balances to be. And we do all that kind of in the interim and planning portion of the audit. And then, like I said, we come back in September, October after the books are closed, and that's when we're selecting samples, we're testing. That's when the staff tends to have to work long hours responding to our requests and having them pull information, and we get through that part of the audit. Pleased to report that we reported out to the county on November 10th at an exit conference, and we submitted the financial statements to the state auditor on November 16th, which was before the deadline of December 15th, or in the county's case, they'd like to get it done by December 1st to submit to the GFOA. So well in advance of both deadlines this year.
Good evening. I'm going to cover some of the areas of audit emphasis, the first being internal controls. We do walkthroughs over key accounting cycles. That includes both revenue and expense. On the revenue side, we look at the property tax collection process, walk through individual transactions, and recalculate different balances related to that. Another example would be for the gross receipts tax and looking at the grants process as well. On the expense side, we look at your disbursement process, making sure that the correct individuals are signing checks, those types of things, as well as reviewing the payroll cycle, making sure that the authorized pay rates are being, paid out to individuals. We also look at other significant controls and perform journal entry testing, evaluating there's an appropriate business purpose for the journal entry, things such as that. Another area of audit emphasis would include management estimates. Some of those management estimates are listed on the slide. Some of those include legal contingencies, as Corey mentioned, compensated absences, accruals. Some of those estimates they have different inputs that are based on historical and known information. And so then we evaluate the reasonableness of the inputs within those calculations. The next item would be revenue recognition. As Corey mentioned, we test those via analytical procedures and making sure that we're looking at all the county's significant accounting streams. The other area of audit emphasis includes the IT systems and controls. We have other members of our team that aren't here with us this evening that perform that test work, and that's where they look at your IT systems, which include Teller, SAP, and Workday. What we do as part of that work is just evaluate how that information from those systems end up feeding what populates the balances that end up in your financial statements. The next slide is going to cover the reported findings for the current year. I'll start by discussing the status of the prior year findings. That's a requirement for us to follow up on those and see if those have been resolved or if they're repeated and modified. The county had 4 findings last year that are listed on the slide. I'm happy to report back that 3 of those have been resolved in the current year. And there is 1 repeat and modified finding related to the documentation of IT user access reviews. And so to elaborate a little bit further on that is the different users that have access within the individual systems as a requirement to make sure that you're evaluating that the people that have access have the appropriate level of access. And if they're required to be removed, that they're being removed timely. And so there was progress made on implementing some of the recommendations from last year's audit in the current year. Part of what we're trying to continue to follow up on is the completeness and accuracy of the reports that are being reviewed and making sure that there's appropriate documentation for us to be able to audit that information that's produced. One thing I wanted to highlight is that though there is the 1 reported finding that being an audit that's occurring in the state of New Mexico is that the state auditor requires us to include compliance findings. So it could be a very minimal thing where a common one is like a cash receipt finding if something wasn't deposited within 24 hours. And so I wanted to highlight that we're required to put those types of findings in the report if we were to identify them. But we tested all those different areas, the 24-hour rule, procurement, other areas like that, and didn't have anything to report back to you guys this evening. The last slide is our engagement team. As I mentioned, we have Corey and myself. We have a concurring principal that reviews the file with us to make sure that we've accounted for everything appropriately. And then we have a large team that works with us throughout this process. It's something I wanted to just highlight. There's a number of individuals that makes this audit process possible. And they're not here with us this evening, but wanted to highlight them for a moment. And our last slide is a thank you slide.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, we stand for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you to the whole team for being here and for your presentation. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Frank Bach?
Yeah, not a substantive question, but just sort of a final notification. Under local government fall under the GASB standards, is that correct?
Yes, we comply with GASB standards.
And is this firm's second year of performing external audit?
Yes, this is the second year that they have performed the audit.
And what is the standard for rotation of audit firms?
It varies. You can go up to 8 years, but in this case, we have contracted for 3 years. So we'll go to RFP the following year.
Is that the standard practice, basically, within the county? 3 years?
Right. It used to be, if I'm not mistaken, 3, then 4. Now they extended it to 8. So, it's really up to the discretion of the organization.
I'm going to encourage one way or the other. I'm just curious. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baca. Any other comments? Yes, Vice Chair Barboa.
Thank you. And I heard at the beginning of the presentation something about a community audit, or I thought I heard something, the state audit, federal. Well, I guess there was not any, there's no, this is all financial. There wasn't any other kind of public reach around the audit. No, that's okay.
It's an internal, I mean.
I think I just heard something, Jackie, that I wasn't.
Oh, was it,
No, don't worry.
Madam Vice Chair, was it from me? Or
I think I heard something that it was probably incorrect, but most of all, I just wanted to say
okay.
thank you, Director Jackie Sanchez.
If you think of it, please reach out.
Definitely will do.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I just wanted more detail that I didn't totally hear something. But yeah, no, I just wanted to give you thanks and appreciation to your team. And sounds like we had an outstanding audit, not even regular sort of common errors. So thank you so much for your work. And
thank you all. Thank you for your support.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move approval.
I'll second. And County Manager, I think you wanted to say something?
Just very briefly, we had another auditor, you may recall, and that when that auditor left, we went to the second person on our team on our list. And we've had experience with them in the past. Mm-hmm. And I do just want to compliment the fact that they jumped in really mid-process last year to get us over the finish line. And then, you know, our staff, I'll just say the level of professionalism and partnership we felt with this company has just been really helpful in terms of us being able to get through this process. Even with the government shutdown, the level of activity that our teams had to get us as close to the finish line as we could in a timely fashion was really appreciated.
Thank you, County Manager Chavez. All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Any opposed? All right, that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you. All right, and our final item for the evening, we have item 11D, risk management, third-party administrator claims, services and purchase of major lines and ancillary coverage. And I think that County Manager Chavez is going to start us out.
Thank you, and I'll ask staff to help with slides if there are any up there. So good evening, and I wanted to begin by just acknowledging we have some folks here that are going to be approaching. One is Scott Gates, and he is our consultant who's, thank you so much, who's been assisting us in this venture. And I really wanted to thank Gina and Armani for their leadership in this area, and also obviously Shirley and former DCM Lisa Cedillo-White, who I wouldn't be surprised if she's watching this tonight, because this was such a big project for her. So just as a reminder, what this action allows for is it authorizes, it allows you to authorize me, the county manager, to purchase major lines and ancillary coverage currently within the New Mexico County's Insurance Authority partnership that we currently share. In addition to that, you would allow me to award an RFP for a third-party administrator to manage claims and activities in a similar fashion as that service being provided by New Mexico counties, and also allowing me to approve professional service agreements to help us get this launched and launch smoothly, and then to authorize me to execute any amendments and subsequent agreements and change orders that are necessary. And let me just say what the it is. We have had a partnership with New Mexico County's Insurance Authority for many, many years. That's okay. We're good. Just because anyway, you're good. For many, many years, and we have really appreciated that partnership. One of the challenges as the insurance markets become more dynamic, as the Civil Rights Act has been changed here in New Mexico, as we are such a large participant, early in the year, you may recall we came to you for authority, both to communicate with New Mexico counties that we were considering other options for Bernalillo County. In April of this year, at your direction, we sent them a notification letting them know that we would be looking for alternative options for our insurance coverage. And very much to their credit, they were very open, and I will say that one of the points that they made to us is that the size of Bernalillo County makes it challenging for us to be part of their pool, and we heard that from their administrator, Grace Phillips, and also from their actuarial. And so that made me feel less guilty, for lack of a better word, to go ahead and pursue what was best for the county, because it sounded like this would not only be a good option for Bernalillo County, but also a good option for New Mexico counties, their insurance pool. So what we did is, in partnership with Scott Gates and under Lisa's leadership, we did a lot of research to determine a few things. One was, not only did we talk to them, we noticed them, we worked closely with HUB to determine whether or not it made more sense for us to become partially, I'm always mixing up the name of it, loss sensitive instead of self-insured, to partly be loss sensitive and also potentially to move into a different kind of insurance structure that would allow us to be self-insured. Where we are in our process is that we are recommending to you that we move forward with these 4 items, allowing us to be loss sensitive and replacing the current coverage that we have with New Mexico counties with new coverage providers. And if you have any questions, I have a lot of smart people with me that are going to be prepared to answer them.
All right. Commissioners, questions? Vice Chair Barboa?
Yeah, I guess I'm just interested, and I have your slides here, so no worries. But
Oh, thank you.
What do we anticipate the timeline of this project?
That is an excellent question. So, and let me just again compliment the staff, because what happened is that in April, when you gave us the direction and ability to go out and look to the market, one of the things that was very striking to me is that the market rates that we got and the rates we got from New Mexico counties weren't available to us till the end of November, beginning of December. And what this is going to require, and the reason we're asking for your support on our third-party administrator and to continue to work with Mr. Gates, is that the switch turns on January 1st. So this is a full court press to make sure that we're not only ready, which we feel confident that we are, but that we're going to be able to begin this process on January 1st.
Okay. So I guess my follow-up to that is, so January 1st, all things implemented with our new insurance company?
Yes, with new partners, correct.
Well, congratulations. I mean, I'm excited, and I think we can do good on our own. And I think this conflict with not conflict, but the tensions between what rural communities, our majority rural community counties need, versus what the one sole urban county looks like is different. And I think those have been long tensions, and I think this is a good move. Didn't realize it's ready to go, but congratulations and good luck.
Yes, there's a lot to have happen in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Commissioner Frank Baca?
Thank you for this presentation and informing us of this. I guess my question, and just a question, not talking about one way or another, I'm just asking, is returning to the pool an option?
That's a very good question. Thank you for that. What happened is that as Bernalillo County, and not only our county, but other counties were making inquiries, the New Mexico County's Insurance Authority Board made changes to their process that would make it very difficult for us to return. And I think one of the reasons, and I'll say that one of the members that sits on the board was saying that he thought it was in particular very important for us to understand that if we took this action,
that it would then be difficult for us to return. So as an example, they would have certain payments that we would make in lieu of not being with them for some period of time. So to keep up with other people who were contributing a certain rate to their capital outlay fund, as an example. I mean, not capital outlay, their capital, what's that? Yeah, the capital adequacy fund. Now, I think when I heard that, and I can defer to Shirley if she has additional thoughts, but my thinking is that part of their concern is also that a larger county like ours has a larger sheriff's department. We run a very large jail. And so I do think what they were concerned about is if you get out of the pool and you're going to miss, maybe cause some waves in it, that if you're getting back in, it's got to be smooth for everybody who's already been part of the pool. And I accept that as what they were trying to accomplish. I think for us, though, to be candid with you, having them make these rule changes in the last few weeks were disconcerting because we alerted them in April. And I don't believe we had enough time with them to understand on their behalf what they were interested in and also the implications for us. So frankly, it made it feel more right to me to make this recommendation to you, because if the pool is going to be making rules that quickly without, I think, robust engagement or analysis and financial analysis, that is a concern that I have just as your county manager.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? I do support this very much so, after some thorough discussion with county manager and review of what the plan is. I am especially encouraged by the responsibility that this places on our organization for our own future, right? That's kind of what this does, through some partners, but hopefully building our internal capacity to do that so that, we are able to, one of the items earlier on in the meeting that I wanted to have a discussion on, and then we're gonna get an update next quarter, was like auto accidents, right? How much damage is being caused to our vehicles, or are we causing to our vehicles? And so being able to get that information, monitor that information, and really do everything we can to control that risk and reduce that risk, whether that's through training, whether that's through incentives that, Commissioner Baca and I have kind of championed. I think there's all kinds of ways that we can get to that. And in this case, we actually directly benefit from those improvements that we make to our culture, to our training, to any of those things that allow us to save money, reduce risk, and overall, protect our employees and our equipment. So I think it's a good plan, and I think it's just acknowledging the different needs we have as a county. And so I want to commend the county manager. I know she's been working on this since she started. I remember very early on in her tenure, she became aware of this and started working diligently on this issue. And it's a really complicated one that I don't claim to know anything about, really, compared to what that crew over there does. So really thank you for your good work and support this very much so. So with that, I make a motion for approval.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Barbara Baca. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal in the affirmative. Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's approved at a 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, County Manager. All right, our next commission meeting will be held Tuesday, January 13th, 2026, at 5 p.m. right here in the Ken Sanchez Commission Chambers. This is our last meeting of the year, so just want to thank all my colleagues and all the staff for the great work over the last year. It's flown by, honestly, I think, for me. But I think we've accomplished a lot of good work this year, and just wishing everybody very happy holidays. To all the staff, the colleagues up here on the dais, thank you for your support over the year, and looking forward to continuing that marathon next year. All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned.